I really, really like this guy. I really, really like him. And I mean, I thought just there was no reason why we couldn't be together. I mean, that was
Wow.
a great guy. And do you know I got an invitation to his wedding in the mail?
Oh my goodness.
I did. I
Mm.
got an invitation to his
Mm.
wedding in the mail. You don't
And
ever
so
know.
while you're thinking y'all are kind of progressing and moving in that direction, and then all of a sudden you get an invitation from him and
Uh-huh.
somebody else.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Hi, in this episode, Matters of the Heart, Part 1, Hoping for Love, we talk about what it feels like to want love and to not yet have it. Through our first Porch Talk letter, we hear the story of the plus one, navigating wedding invitations, longing, and the ache of waiting. Together, we reflect on how to balance hope with wholeness, honor our desires without shame, and remind ourselves that longing doesn't make us broken. It makes us human. And as always, we'll leave you with a little snack to go to carry with you in the meantime.
This is In the Meantime.
Wisdom for the spaces between who we were.
And who we are becoming.
Yes, yes. So my name is Dolores. I'm known as Mama, Nana, and the nosy, inquisitive one.
I'm Tiffany, daughter, intense thinker, and a polished rebel, a disruptor in heels.
And I am Angela, a family by heart, full of stories and slightly unfiltered and maybe a little filthy.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Welcome to episode 2, you all. Matters of the Heart, part 1. Hoping for Love is the title. Today, we're going to talk about what it feels like to want love and to not yet have it. That space of longing and wanting and hoping, sometimes believing it'll happen, and then sometimes just believing if it ever will.
And we know folks are hoping for and waiting for love. So we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk
Yes.
about it. All right. So before we jump in, we are introducing something new, Porch Talk. So Porch Talk is a space where we share a story from one of you or from us about the episode's theme. So it is centered on being in the meantime, that space. And the whole purpose is to bring these stories to real life and to make sure we're grounded in real world examples of what people are going through in these in between spaces. So before we do our very first porch talk, I'd just like to gloat a little bit because I just like to remind everybody that on Sunday, the Bears played the Dallas Cowboys, my team versus Miss Angela's team. And unfortunately for Miss Angela, the Bears were victorious. And so I'm here to share a little bit of gloating with the team.
What the hell?
What the hell, y'all? Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yes. Mm.
So I just had to. I've been waiting since Sunday to share that with you, Miss
Oh
Angela.
my
So
goodness.
let's, so
Shoot.
so let's get started. Okay. All right. So let's go straight to our porch talk letter. All right. So dear, in the meantime, I never thought waiting for love would feel this lonely. Everyone around
Mhm.
me seems partnered, planning weddings or starting families, and me, I am the plus one to my own life events. I have
Mhm.
a good life. I know that. I remind myself every day. But last Thursday, I left work a little later than usual, grabbed some food to go because let's be real, I was not about to cook, even though I do love to cook. On the way in, I checked my mailbox and found not one, but two wedding
Mm.
invitations. You know,
Mm.
those fancy magnetic save the date kind that people expect you to put on your fridge. Something in me just broke. I made
Mhm.
it inside, closed the door, and before I could even take my shoes off, I burst into tears. Not a few tears, a full body cry. She said her
Mhm.
whole body was crying.
Yes.
I stuck those save the dates on the fridge right next to a gender reveal postcard I had received the week before. I laughed
Mhm.
at the absurdity and then I cried all over again. I talked to my friends, the ones who are married, raising babies, building homes, and they all tell me it's not me, that it'll happen, that my time will come, but I just don't know anymore.
Mhm.
I've tried telling myself I don't even want love anymore, but that is not true. I do. I want someone to cook with, cry with, argue gently with. I want to slow dance in the kitchen, and I want everyday magic. Whew, girl, who wrote this? Did I write this?
Mm.
I've tried to fill my life with joy, and some days I succeed, but other days I just feel lost. What do I do in the meantime? Signed, the plus one.
Wow, wow, you all. That right there, that is real. That is why we started this porch talk, right? Because it gets right to the heart of it.
Yeah.
Like that's real.
So
Right.
that letter names the ache of wanting love. Have either one of you ever had a season where it felt like love skipped you?
The majority of my life.
What? Not the
Mhm. I
majority.
think I think I felt like that
Mhm.
before I met Chandler. But I did seek God, and God said that He had like a fence around me, and nobody was there. And I think He was protecting me from probably a lot of things.
Mhm.
But when
Wow.
I met Chandler, I knew that he was the one. I knew that he was the one.
Wow.
Um, but it's still ups and downs. So just
Yes.
because you know he's the one,
Mhm.
you still gonna go through. You
Right.
still go through. You still go
Absolutely.
through.
Yeah, I can imagine, and also question. I'm thinking about that, and I said the majority of my life, but I think about the fact that I got married really young because I was a teen mom. So I got married when I was 17, and so we got married because we just felt like that was the right thing to do. And so if I'm really honest about it, we didn't even know what love was, right? Still trying to figure out life as a teenager, and so after that, now I'm thinking, but was I in a position for love? Do you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we have to position ourselves for love, and maybe a part of that majority of my life, I was not in a position to receive it. Very busy trying to raise kids, going to school, etc. And I think now in later life, I do desire it, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was a good
Mm-hmm.
question. Yeah. What about
Mm-hmm.
you, Tiffany?
Well, certainly I have been in this position for sure. I'm not married, and it took, I found my guy now, but it took me until I was 40, and
Mhm.
so you go through that kind of like late 20s, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there are
Mm-hmm.
different kind of points along your journey, or there was just some points along my journey, I'll say. So you get to your late 20s and you start being like, oh, okay, is this going to happen? And you meet people, you might date people, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to be something that's forever or long term. And so for sure, I
Mm-hmm.
certainly can relate to the question to this young lady's letter, because especially when you're moving through your 20s and into your 30s and then into your late 30s, and
Mm.
it just seems like you're the only one. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of times we do ask ourselves, like, is there something wrong with me? Is there something that
Yes.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing right? And so, of course, everybody wants to
Mm-hmm.
give you advice, right?
Yes. Yes.
You should go to the bar and sit at the bar by yourself, or you should, go, to museums and just walk around. But, you start taking all of this advice in your meantime space to try to
Yes.
figure out what you're supposed to be doing, or what you could be doing differently. And I think it really kind of can create, in a lot of people, anxiety, because then it's kind of like every time you step outside, you're wondering, is this the day? If you're not careful, you really can just have a heightened sense of anxiety every time you step into a new space, and that's also not good. Um, and I think
Mm.
sometimes people kind of go kind of one way or the other. So on one end, it's kind of like, well, I really, really want this. And so I might settle for something that might not be good for me because
Mm.
I feel
Yeah.
like I'm up
Yeah.
against the deadline. And I
Yes.
think especially when people want children, and you feel like your biological clock is ticking. And so you're like, okay, well, I may not get this opportunity again, before it's too late. So I might give this person more chances than I perhaps should or would if I didn't feel like I was under that pressure.
Mhm.
Or you get older, and then the older you get, the least you willing to put up with. So I think I took that
Uh-huh.
turn. I
That's
think
Uh-huh.
me.
the older I got, the more I was like, you know what, this list's not getting shorter, it's getting longer.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
I
And
know.
so,
Absolutely.
because you then realize, hey, I can do life by myself, and there may be opportunities, or there may be times where I feel like I wish that I was in a serious relationship with someone, but I'm not willing to be unhappy, or to allow somebody to come into my life that is not enhancing a beautiful life that I have built for myself. And so I definitely, kind of vacillated along that timeline. And like I say, not married yet. But I certainly, absolutely, if I could go pull out some old journals and read them to y'all,
Wow. Yes.
it would be,
Yes.
one, embarrassing, but then
I
two,
know.
I just know, very real for a lot of people. And so, and it,
Mhm.
as you all know, and the listening audience may not know, moved around a lot.
Yeah.
I worked for a consulting practice or firm that had me living everywhere. I've lived
Right.
everywhere, from Toronto, as far north as Toronto, as far south as Corpus Christi, Texas, which is like right on the Texas-Mexico borders. And so, and
Mm.
then everywhere in between, west, everywhere. And so I was never just kind of like in one place long enough to really dig in. And so,
Mhm.
lots can contribute to that. But, like you said, Miss Angela, sometimes it's just not your time yet. And it's hard
Mm.
to hear. It's hard to hear
Right.
that it's not your time yet, because you want it to be your time. How come
That's
it's
right.
not my time? It's
All the
Absolutely.
everybody
time.
else's
Yeah.
time.
And
I was 40 when
go
I
ahead.
got married, Tiffany.
Oh, were you?
Uh-huh.
You just
Right.
Uh-huh.
seem so much younger. You just seem
Uh,
such a young.
girl, Lord. Mm.
Yeah.
So prior to your getting married, Angela, when you think about just like the writer of this particular porch talk segment, right? She talked about getting all those invitations because Angela, everybody knows you, right? And so was there a time like where you were just getting wedding invitations and all of these things, right? And I'm just wondering, like, when you start getting all of that stuff, and then when there are baby showers that you go to, and then holidays where you're lonely, right? I just
Yeah,
wonder
yeah,
if
yeah.
that in the meantime feeling for you, did it hit a little harder during those kind of milestone moments?
Uh-huh. Let me share something real personal.
Mm,
I really, really like this guy. I really, really liked him. And I mean, I thought just there was no reason why we could be together. I mean, that was
wow.
a great guy. And do you know I got an invitation to his wedding in the mail?
Oh my goodness.
I did. I
Mm,
got an invitation to his
mm,
wedding in the mail. And I
mm,
really, I mean, I was really in tune to this guy, and that hurt so hard.
mm,
I cried, and it was Chandler, the friend that he took me out to eat, and he just, I mean, but that was the invitation of,
mm,
can I say, the decade?
mm.
But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
you don't ever
absolutely.
know what's going on, you know.
Yes.
You don't
And
ever
so while
know.
you're thinking y'all are kind of progressing and moving in that direction, and then all of a sudden you get an invitation from him and
Uh-huh.
somebody else.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Oh, I
Exactly.
just can't even
Woo,
imagine, right?
that's
I
powerful.
Yeah.
know. I
That's
know. I
that's
know.
real.
Well, she tried to fill her life in the letter with joy. So she was like, I try to do this, and I try to create, opportunities for joy in my life. So question for you two, how do we hold joy and longing at the same time? I think that's really
Mm,
hard for people to say. I'm happy for my friends. I'm happy for the people in my life who have found happiness, in whatever way that, might manifest for them or look like for them. But how do I kind of hold joy created in my own life, be grateful and thankful for what I have, be happy for my friends, but also acknowledge the very real feelings of
Mhm.
wanting that for yourself?
mm. Wow. That's a real good question.
It
Um,
is.
yeah, I'm really thinking about how sometimes we think that it has to be one or the other. And for me, I mean, I always tell people I'm an and person, and I do think you can hold two things at one time, right? So you really can truly be happy for somebody else. But the reality is, if it's something that you want and you're waiting for and you're longing for, that
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
the meantime moment,
Mhm.
yeah, you're also in this space where, wow, and I want that too, right?
Mhm.
I want
Yeah.
that kind of love, that kind of what we see or perceive to be happiness to find me. And
Mhm.
two can exist. And it doesn't mean that I'm envious or jealous of the person, my friend, my family member, whoever that's receiving it.
Mhm.
But I definitely think it kind of magnifies, right? Where
Yeah.
I am. Like it kind of puts a mirror in my
Yeah.
face and I start saying, why not me? What's
Yeah.
wrong with
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Why can't I
Mhm.
have somebody like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
I do think you can hold both though, right? But I do think it has to be something that's intentional. Like
Mhm.
we can't keep giving people these surface answers like, in time you'll find somebody. It's not you, it's somebody else, it's
What
them.
is
And
the answer? What are you supposed to say to people?
uh
What would you want somebody to say to you?
Yeah, now that is the thing. I would want people to be real. Like, right? I think what happens, well, I say that, but we don't always want to feel like this is my responsibility, if you will, right? And so I think that sometimes, when we talk about instead of people saying, "Oh," and or even, even in God's time, or it's going to eventually happen, the reality is, guess what, you all? It might not. Do you know of people who were waiting and
Mhm.
they died waiting?
Yeah.
That hit
Oh
me the
yeah.
other day.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm thinking, we keep telling people, "Oh, it's gonna happen," just that,
And
right?
you
And
don't
the
know that. It
reality
might
is, it might
not.
not.
It might
It
not.
might
Yeah.
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I now in with my age where I am now, I
Mhm.
want people to be straight with me. So what would I want somebody to say to me?
Mhm.
Yeah, validate my feelings.
Mhm.
Don't ignore my feelings. Don't dismiss my feelings. Don't just say, "Oh, you'll be fine. It'll happen when it's da." No, validate my feelings. Like I'm
And
really feeling
I
lonely.
say,
Yes.
hang on in there.
Hang
Mm-hmm.
in there.
And
Mm-hmm.
when you get tired of hanging, hang some
Hang
more.
some more.
Yeah.
Hang
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hang
Yeah.
on in there. And when you get tired of hanging, hang some more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I found things to do. I went back to school.
Mhm.
Um, I
That's what we
started,
do, ain't it?
uh-huh,
Yep.
uh-huh,
That's true.
uh-huh. Go back
Mm-hmm.
to school, or I started making cooks. I bought a what's the cricket? I bought a cricket. I started working on my cricket. I mean, just stuff to keep yourself busy. You
Mhm.
need
Mm-hmm.
stuff to keep yourself busy to
Yeah.
find other things to do and do other things.
Yeah.
And can I add to that, Angela? I also think, though, sometimes it's okay to sit in your loneliness. I think that in life we try to escape that stuff, right? Because nobody wants to feel uncomfortable. Nobody wants to feel lonely. But the reality is, once we've sat with it for a minute, it really gives you time to do what you're saying, Angela, to think about, you know what? Maybe this won't be a reality for me. So if it's not going to be, what can I do? And then those things that you
Mhm,
just said, Angela, right?
mhm,
Those things to kind of
mhm,
uplift yourself and the things that you want to do
mhm,
to enhance and improve and all of those things, right? To add to your own life.
mhm,
But uh, I'm really on this journey now where I'm saying, you know what, we can't always um, evade, get away from the lonely feelings or the problem or the situation. We're going to have to be uncomfortable because I think we all know that that's where a lot of growth takes place.
Yeah.
That's where a
oh
lot of
yeah,
self
oh yeah,
reflection, where we start really
oh
thinking
yeah.
about self, right?
Mhm.
And so I think some of that too. So I
Now
think
I'm
we
gonna
need to
tell you. Oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, no, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I would say to your point, Mama. I think one of the things that was really, and obviously, I probably like lamented to you about this more than anybody else, but I think for me there was like this vacillation between, you know what, this may not happen, and if it doesn't happen, what do I want my life to look like,
Yes.
regardless?
Mhm,
I think so
Right.
many people kind of wait to live their lives because they're waiting on whatever thing to in this case that we're talking about, to fall in love, to get married. And so it's like, well, I don't want to buy a house because I'm not married. I don't want to do this. And I don't want to travel anywhere because then if I start traveling, then I'm not going, my husband ain't going, whatever. Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think, one, it's important to say, at the end of the day, what is it that I want my life to look like every day? And like,
Mm.
how can I curate that life regardless? So, you two know this, again, the listening audience might not know, but I lost a very close friend of mine, and she was in her early 30s. And so
Yes.
she didn't know, obviously, we didn't know that she was going to pass away before she even, got good into her 30s. And so you just don't know the time you have. And not that that
Mm-hmm.
is the only reason, but like, if you were just to kind of live a life, curate the life you want to live, I think um, there is some energy that you emit there that can draw in people who might say, you know what? She homegirl living her life, doing her thing, and the energy she brings to life is something I want to be close to. And so I
Oh
think
yeah.
that sometimes when you sit in the sadness of it for too long, you always say feel your feelings, but then get on out of there. When
Right.
you sit into it for too long, you also carry that energy out into the world with you. And so trying to figure out how to balance, I feel what I feel, those feelings are valid.
Yes.
That's real for me, but at the same time, I don't want to not live my life, and I don't want to walk around with the energy of loneliness, of lamenting, of all these
Yes.
things
Yes.
into
So
the world.
let me ask this question. So do you have to be in love to get married?
Oh,
Mm.
now Miss
Wow.
Angela, you throwing grenades into the conversation.
Right. That's
I
a
think it depends on the person, because in
yeah.
some cultures they have arranged marriages. And so it's not a
Yeah.
matter of love, it's a
Yeah.
matter of families deciding that these two people should get together because it is beneficial to the families, and their loyalty is to that lineage and to that family. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily to the
Mhm.
person they're marrying. I think a lot of them hope that they will and can, fall in love through the marriage, but lots of people get married for all kind of reasons.
Yeah, that's a real good
Uh-huh.
question.
Always
One
be.
is for convenience, right?
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
think about
Yeah. Yep.
sometimes
Yep.
people
Yep.
decide, you know what, we're pretty good friends, we get along well,
Mhm.
let's get married, right? And let's build. And that could be building a
Mhm.
business. It could be let's
Mhm.
pool our resources
Mhm.
and build this life. Like, so
Mhm.
that's a really good question.
I'm
And
sick. I
one
need your health insurance.
right. Right.
Again,
But
guys.
I do think, Angela, why like what came up for you when you asked that question? Because that's very interesting.
Um, I think I can marry without love.
Mm.
I
Would
think
you
I
have
can.
said that? But would you have said that back when before you got married
Mm.
and we're still in the kind of phase of like, because
I
there's
want
like this
love, yeah.
fairy tale. We watched Cinderella early on, and Snow White, and you
Mm.
come rescue me and create my happily ever after and bring me
You
back.
know what? You
Yeah.
know what, Tiffany? Man, you know me, girl. I probably would have.
Yeah,
I probably would have,
yeah,
knowing me.
yeah.
Mm.
Um, because I mean, love is love, but ain't love don't heal. Love don't.
Mm.
It don't. I mean, it's just love. It's just love. I
Mm.
love my children. I love my grandbabies. Um,
Mhm.
So you're saying that you have enough love in your life that maybe your relationship or marriage could be predicated on something else, being that you
yeah,
have the love
Mhm.
yeah,
that you need
yeah,
in your life.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's very
yeah,
interesting. Yeah. That's
I
yeah.
think it depends on the person, and I think it depends
yeah.
on the perspective. And you shared an important one. I don't think I think I would just be single if
Mm.
I felt like this is, because I didn't, there was nothing that I felt like I needed necessarily tangibly, and so it is only that I want to be in love with somebody, and that they and have them love me back, and we share a life in a loving way. I didn't necessarily, oh, I need kids, so I need to, you know what I'm saying, or like I need to pull
Mhm.
financial resources, or any of those other things. And so for me, the only reason will really be um, love.
Uh, and
Mhm.
then I just want to throw in something because I think for me, I'm still trying to figure out what
Oh,
love
yes.
really is,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yes.
So, because we're talking
Uh-huh.
about this and we're talking about what we want and we're talking about, but I think for me, that is the question for me. I don't know, because I've never really been in love, right? If I look back over my life, and I've dated some and all of that kind of stuff, but people say I'm in love and all of this. So I think I'm still trying to figure out what love is.
Mm,
Uh-huh.
Um, and
Uh-huh.
so I wonder, Angela, if as we get older, to your question, would we marry for love or because we're at a place in our lives where, or for me, somebody who's single, where um but you were saying earlier, Tiffany, when you kind of have, like, I don't need somebody. I desire to have somebody in my life, right? But, of
Mhm.
course, I'm not having any more kids, right? Too old for
mhm,
that. And I'm not looking for somebody to take care of me financially. A lot of people think they need, just religiously, they think that they have to have somebody who's the leader or they're covering.
mm.
I don't even believe in that. So that's not something that I'm looking for. So,
I was thinking real quick, y'all will remember this. Miss Angela, I kind of feel like I remember watching this at your house one time, but y'all remember that Juanita Bynum No More Sheets series?
Yes.
It was all them
Yes.
VHS recordings, and she
Yes.
said,
Yes.
when people be like, "Oh, just wait, you don't need nobody right now," blah, blah, blah. She said, "It's easy for you to say you laid up next to triceps and biceps." Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
Yep, yep. Absolutely.
But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting, Mom. I think that, I, have a personal affinity and interest, I think, in seeing you be loved
Mm,
properly. I want that for you. I want you to experience somebody extending themselves in a loving, romantic way
mm,
towards you. And I know you've dated and that type of thing, but I want to see you really be invested in a way that I've never witnessed before. And I do. I want to see it. And I think love is not everything,
yeah. Okay.
but it is a beautiful thing. And so to
Absolutely.
experience,
Mhm.
um, you
Mhm.
know, you having a bad day and somebody who you want to reach out to you and say, "Babe, what can I do to help you?"
Yes,
That
yes.
is
Mhm.
there's an asset to your life. It has been an asset to my life. So
Yes.
I
Mhm.
want to see that happen for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I'm not saying I don't want that. And so I want to make that clear. Like I said, now when I say I don't need someone, I
Yeah. Oh,
do
for sure.
desire, right? But I think the other thing is, Angela, maybe you can speak to this with me. As parents, one of my biggest regrets, I know people say I don't have regrets. I do. I wish there were things I could go back and do differently, right? Or not do at all. But one of the
Mhm.
things that stands out for me is I wish I had been in a loving, healthy relationship
Uh-huh.
as an example for my children.
Uh-huh.
And I think
Uh-huh.
that's just another whole topic. But
Oh
when
yeah.
I
That's a
look back,
whole
I wish I
subject.
had provided that because they didn't necessarily see an example. Like I said, I got married young and, we divorced early. And so they just did not get a chance to see a healthy uh loving relationship.
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
will say that is the one thing. And now of course y'all are grown, so but I do appreciate you saying you desire that for me,
Absolutely.
Tiffany. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you think about that, Angela? Just as when we think about women our age and our kids are grown, and when we look back, and you had, because you had Chandler at some, but I think your kids were still a little older when you got
They
married
were.
too.
They were. I think
Mhm.
Erica was 12 and Jana was 14 and
Okay, well, they're
Elizabeth
still
was
teenagers.
grown. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just so they could see a relationship and but to be able to see it done and done the right way. That's
Yes. Yes.
that's the what can I say? That's the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing to hold on to. Um, because
Mm.
my relationship has been a lot of trials and tribulations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and relationships are generally, when you talk
Oh,
about
girl,
two people
yes,
coming together and who've been socialized in different ways, and now y'all having to
yes.
figure each other out and then figure out
Uh,
what that means for the whole family. Like I can imagine.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Well, I'll say this to both of you all as the next generation, on behalf of all of your kids on both sides. You know, one of the things that you realize as an adult is that your parents, this is also their first time doing life. And I
Mm,
think that, we grow up thinking you all have all the answers. And so you know all the things and you have all the answers because you're teaching them to us. And, when you become an adult, you realize that your parents are also navigating the world, as,
mm,
today was your first day being today and mine too.
right.
And
Right.
so I think sometimes there are things that, obviously I'm not a parent. You can look back and say, I wish that these things had been different. And I am one of those people
Mhm.
who don't believe in regrets. But I wish that I had done this or I could have done this. But you never know how the butterfly effect would have changed the trajectory of anything, right? So,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that like kids should grow up in unhealthy relationships and toxic, whatever. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that there's another side to that coin. And sometimes, and being able to say, I looked at my mom navigate life in this way where she was resilient. She may not have had all the things that I felt like maybe she deserved, or,
mm,
she may have perhaps struggled in this particular area, but I saw her grow from point A to point B to point Z in that particular area. Like
Mm,
those are the things that also enhance our lives in a way that I think are important and can be assets. And the same thing for you, Miss Angela. You have been in one place, navigated, going back to school as an adult, raising kids, moved to another place, like all of these
mm,
things that you've been able to do. And
mm,
I'll be honest with you, I say this and I've said this before. If I had gotten married to the person I dated when I was 25, I would be miserable. And perhaps
mm,
I would have had kids, and those kids would have seen me in a relationship, but I
mm,
probably would have been miserable in a relationship eventually because
oh
who
yeah,
I am
oh
today
yeah,
is
oh yeah.
so far away from who I was. So I say that to say, not to assuage your, ideas about
Mhm.
what you could have done or should have done, but you never know what part of you was activated
mm,
by some other part of you that perhaps you feel like was deficient.
mm.
And
Yeah,
so we
Wow.
got to
yeah.
see the activations, and I think that's important too.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she said she tried to tell herself that she did not want love, but that was not true. And I think that's such a powerful, it's kind of like, if I'm not getting the thing I want, let me try to convince myself that I actually
Right.
don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah,
So what does it mean to honor your longing without letting it, I guess, kind of take over?
Mm,
Or try to push it away and say, I actually, let me convince myself that I don't actually want this. Um,
mm,
what does that feel like to you two?
well, I think for me, I can understand, or I can relate, because I've been married for 20 years.
wow.
That's a
Wow.
long time.
It is. It is. Woo.
That's a long
It
time.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, that's a long time. That's a long time. That's
Yeah.
all I can say is
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
long
Sure.
time. That's a
So,
long time.
but before that, Angela, when you think about before you got married, right? Um,
How did
because
you
I
not let it take over
take
your
over your
whole?
life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you were um the Sunday school teacher. Everybody wanted to be in your class at church. Everybody wanted to come to your house all the time. So I can see how you didn't necessarily let it take over your life. But that's
Yes,
the thing, like you desired somebody, you were longing for somebody, but how did you not let that just take over your life and keep you from doing all the things that you ended up doing
I
before you
think the
got
word.
married?
I think the word.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think the word, and I think the word of God.
Mm.
Um, I stayed in the word,
Yes.
and I learned a scripture every other week, and we had another friend that really challenged me
Mm-hmm.
um, So it was the word. It was the word. It was the word of God that
Mm,
really kept me rooted and grounded.
mm. Wow.
And once I did get married, I kind of steered away from the word.
Mm,
But now I'm back on the word. Now I'm
mm,
back on the word. I'm back in the word. So it's only the word of God that's going to keep you wherever you are in life. You have
mm.
got to have the word of God. You can't do nothing without the word of God.
Okay. And I
I'm gonna
would
say the
say,
opposite.
look, look,
She's saying the opposite.
What'd
she's
you
so
say?
ratchet. She's so ratchet. I know that's my child, but what can I tell you? And she probably got a little bit of that from me. But so go ahead, elaborate. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so Miss Angela, for me, I think it was a bit of the opposite.
Oh,
Um, of
okay.
that because
Tiffany,
uh-huh.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I obviously grew up in a very religious construct, right? So my grandfather was a pastor. We were at church all the time. Growing up, there was always religion was just such a huge part, and church was such a huge part of life and who we were. And I always had lots and lots of questions, things I didn't
Right.
understand, to be honest with you, things that I just didn't agree with, and things
Mm-hmm.
that I really had serious conflicts about. And so I think that as I grew up and kind of grew into even college, I felt like I was kind of like in a box because the
Mm-hmm.
message that we tell a lot of young women, especially in the church, is if you do these things, A,
Yep.
B, C, and D, focus
Mm-hmm.
on this, don't be, focus on boys, go to school, get your lesson, don't do this, don't be that type of girl, don't, all these different kind of things. There is some prize at the end of that. And so I think as I got older and realized, and I'm not, again, I don't take me, out of context. I'm not saying that like people should just like do whatever they want to and be
Right.
wild and free
Right.
to do whatever. But I do think that there were so many things that I was afraid to explore about
Mm.
myself, about the world around me, about romantic relationships, because I still was existing in this box of shame. A lot of it is shame.
Yep. That's right.
There were, don't be that type of. So
Mhm.
I just didn't even,
Mm-hmm.
step into, the realm. I never wanted to be perceived differently. And so, anyway, I say all that to say, I really needed to reconcile with me not what I had been taught to believe, but what I truly,
That's
truly
it.
believed
That's right.
about who I was,
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
I um, perceive my place in the world and the world around me. And then I had to do I call it a freeing, beautiful, heartbreaking exercise of saying, what is it that I believe about who God is? And if I had
Mhm.
to figure out how we even like got to this point, what does that look like for me? So anyway, I say all that to say, I really kind of had to just break free and discover who
Yes.
I was without the constant noise of who um in my perception, a bunch of men wrote in a book and told me
Yes.
who I was
Yes.
and what my place was in the world. And so I started just becoming a little more brave about who I was, to be able to say, you know what, I am who I am. I don't need a covering. I
Mm-hmm.
don't need a leader. I'm a grown up. I'm grown. I've
That's
been
right.
leading my life. And if I am to be with a man in a marriage partnership, it will need to be a partnership. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
interested in being a subordinate. I don't feel like I need to shrink myself in the ways that a lot of times we're taught to do within religious constructs in order to create this hierarchy of who's most important and who gets the biggest say and all that kind of great stuff. So anyway, all of that. And I respect people's, ability to engage with their creator in the way that manifests for them, whether it's Judaism or Hinduism or Christianity or all those
That's right.
things. But I think that for me, I needed to kind of figure out for myself, and I think it has made me a much better version of myself once
Person.
I
Uh-huh. And can I say I agree with you?
did
Now,
that.
now, because I said
Mhm.
the word, the word. I
Mm,
found some scriptures and stood on some scriptures. Um, the word, just
yes.
the word, the word,
Yes.
the word, the
So,
word.
Angela, principles. I think what I hear you're
Yes,
saying is that in the word, right,
yes,
you found
yes,
certain
yes, yes,
principles that helped you get through those
yeah.
longing, those times of longing and wanting and
Uh huh.
desiring,
Uh
right?
huh.
In
Uh
the
huh.
in the meantime, this
Uh huh.
the
Uh
word
huh.
helped you to, yeah, that makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
and Angela, I'm so glad you brought that up because I think as I listened to Tiffany, and I will say, as her mom, right? As a result of them going on their journey, my all of my children, right? We as a family, I think, have been doing that because I'm too, my dad was a pastor. So of course I'm on that journey as well. And not that, people think when you say that is you don't believe in God. No, yeah, I believe in God, but one of the things I think Tiffany helped me to see, because I was like, oh, I'm so confused with all of this, is just how I see God, right?
Mhm.
Now is
Uh
different
huh.
than what I was taught earlier on, right? But to your point,
Mhm.
Angela, for me, yes, I still look at the word and read some of the word. Do I
Mhm.
think,
Mhm.
and it's the principles. Me and you talk all the time. There are just certain verses that stand out that encourages us, that gives that are
Mhm.
inspirational, that helps us
Mhm.
to make it through stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I'm so glad you brought that up because that's what I mean when I say I'm an and person. I can take some of that information and apply it to my life and use it to help me in situations. And I can also question a lot of the things that I've been taught, right? And try to
Same.
figure out who I really am and what I really believe. And so,
Same.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. So,
Oh, my dog agree with everybody, as y'all heard her. But I totally agree, and I will say, for as much as I've done this kind of like exercise of exploring over the years, I am so grateful and appreciative for the foundation, because
yes,
in many ways the principles are
yes,
are so apt, and a lot of them are shared across different religions,
yes.
and so things
Mhm.
that you can hold on to for faith and for life and for all of those things,
Mhm.
are certainly still a part of, embedded in who I am as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And so you were asking the question about, what does it mean to honor your longing without letting it take over? One other point I just wanted to make is that, I say this all the time. I talk about the importance of not losing ourselves, right? And especially losing
Mhm.
ourselves in other people, but
Mhm.
also just not losing ourselves, period, right? So when we
Oh
talk about
yeah.
this ideal of what it means to honor your longing, and that's what I was saying earlier, to sit with that sometimes, because I'm telling you, I've grown so much just reflecting and the loneliness and all this stuff, but it really helps you to get to know you.
Yeah.
Like,
Who
why
you
am I
are.
really
Who
lonely
you
here? Is
are.
it you know what I'm
You
saying?
got
That's
to know
like,
who you are. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
it does.
Yes.
It
Yes.
really
Yes.
helps. And I think if we bypass that and skip over that, then we'll find ourselves revisiting that over and over and not really
Over
figuring
and
out who
over.
we really are,
Yeah.
which is not
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
healthy when you do get in a relationship, right? Because
Yeah.
then you get in a
Yeah.
relationship and
Yeah.
start unpacking all this
Yeah.
baggage that you have and that kind of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But I do think we tell ourselves these things just to get through, like, oh, maybe I just don't want love.
I don't want it.
But I think it's important to be honest with yourself. I want it,
Mm.
and if I find it, yay, right? And if I don't, what does that mean for me?
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
is this? What is this meantime experience here to teach me? What is it here to about
Yeah.
about myself? I went through like these phases of like, you know what? It's me. I'm doing something wrong. And then I went to, you know what? It's these men. They just, so you go through all of that, and then you go through, so it's the different phases. But really, and Mom, I think you know this too. But there was this struggle with how you say like, well, not everybody will have somebody. Not everybody will follow
Mhm.
the man. But
Mhm.
that is kind of antithetical to my metaphysical manifestation beliefs that you can have whatever you want. And yeah,
Right.
and I would never say that it was
Hmm.
gonna happen. And so you reconcile with yourself to say, like,
Yeah.
are you saying that, you don't have faith that that it
Mm.
absolutely, law of assumption, will happen for you,
Right.
Yeah.
and so that's a part of it too. But again, I think, it all comes down to we're here having this human experience, We are spiritual beings having this human experience, and every meantime space is meant to teach us something about
Yes.
ourselves, for probably our higher selves, and the lessons that we learn between who we were and I feel like I'm
Yes.
talking about- and who we are becoming are so important. It's the journey, and
Yes.
it's hard
It
to
is the journey.
hear that when you're going through it. It's hard
Yes.
when you're in the middle of it and you're approaching 40 and you're getting those invitations in the mail and you're putting them on and you go home and you say, what do I want to eat? And nobody else cares what I eat, and nobody else is telling me what they want, and nobody else is asking me what that's
Because
hard.
it's in the meantime.
You're in the meantime.
Yes. Yes.
You're in and you don't
Absolutely.
know how long the meantime lasts.
No,
That is
no,
it. Yes.
no,
Every day
no,
you're
no.
hoping, you wake up and
Yeah,
that, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you're
and you don't want to be
hoping and
consumed by
longing
it, but
for.
yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
absolutely.
Right. And so when we think about this, that this in the meantime, in terms of what this really means, right? It means that in this moment of longing and wanting someone, that we look at preparing and cultivating and becoming someone who just want to attract love, y'all, but who will sustain it. And that's how I'm kind of looking at it. Like, I don't want to just attract love. I want
Yeah,
to sustain it.
I'm
And that
so
means I have to work on nurturing and cultivating me in
absolutely.
this process. In this process.
Okay, so here is the question for the week for everybody to think about and ponder. What is one way that you can honor your longing without letting it define you? That's for the audience to just sit with yourself and say, if you are in this situation, whether it's love or whether it's something else, one way that you can honor the feelings of that, but not let it completely define who you are and how valuable you are.
Yes, yes. And if you're in this space right now, we'd love to hear your story, right? Send us a note or a voice message so that maybe it'll become a future porch talk, right? And so please
Yeah.
let us know, like, if you're experiencing this and if you have questions.
And don't clean it up for us either. Because I want to hear the messy version.
The unfiltered, that's what you say you were
Uh-huh.
earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yes, yes.
So look, you all, before we go, here's some little snacks that you can take with you, right? A bite-sized piece of wisdom to carry with you this week.
Yeah. So mine would be, in the meantime, longing just reminds me that my heart still works.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mine would be, in the meantime, I'm trusting that timing has its own wisdom,
Mm.
even when it feels late.
Mm.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I light the candle, cuss out the app,
No concept.
the app, and still know I'm the prize.
Yes, you
Absolutely.
are. Yes, the prize, honey.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
You all, this is In the Meantime.
Wisdom for the spaces between who we were.
And who we are becoming.
Look, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Just be where you are.
And maybe take something to go.
Yes.
Bye. Go Bears.
Bye bye.
Uh,
In the Meantime is a production of Black Unicorn Productions. This episode was executive produced by Tanisha Williams. Music by Presence of Sean. Special thanks to you, our community, for sitting with us in the meantime. Until next time, remember, the meantime is a porch, a prayer, and a promise. A sacred space between who we were and who we are becoming. This is In the Meantime.